Love this podcast? Support this show through the Acast supporter feature. It's up to you how much you give, and there's no regular commitment. Just click the link in the show description to support now.
Strictly for the culture. Brothers and sisters, you have seen the t-shirts, the hats, the hoodies, the mugs in the hands of some of your favorite pro wrestling stars, podcasters, and influencers out there. And now it's time. Visit strictlyfortheculture.ca and you too can be part of the movement. Bigger than sweatshirts and commercial success, Strictly for the Culture aims to build with like-minded people and elevate their position in the world through knowledge, self-love, and a desire to unite. So what are you waiting on? Visit strictlyfortheculture.ca. Do it for the love. Do it for the knowledge. Most importantly, folks, do it strictly for the culture.
You're locked in.
Look at what we have here, folks.
To the only show that matters.
The cream of the crop.
Duke loves wrestling.
And there is no one that does it better than
your host.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass.
The Duke.
And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Brothers and sisters, welcome back to Duke Loves Wrestling Podcast, a show about pro wrestling and everything else. Last episode, we had WWE Hall of Famer Devon Dudley, and he had a lot to say about Dillon Hines, the son of Bobby Fulton. In fact, I'm going to play in its entirety what Devon had to say about Dillon. So check this out, folks.
Well, basically, the people who brought me into the show in Chillicothe, Ohio, basically we get there with Alberto Del Rio, and we couldn't find the table. So they tried to contact Dillon and pretty much said, hey, Dillon, we can't find our table. What's going on? And people have already made their way inside the building. So it was a little hectic. And he kind of brushed them off. And he was like, I don't have time right now. Go find my father and this and that. Find the table yourselves. I can't help you right now. And I was like, wow. I said, okay. And so there had been a few times after that where he passed by, didn't say hello, didn't say anything, or apologize for that little thing. So no big deal. So then he comes over and he just throws some 8x10s, or I think they were bigger than 8x10s. But he threw them on the table and said, tell Devon to sign these. Number one, I'm not signing anything. You can't even come up to me and say hello, but yet you're going to throw something on the desk and tell the people that brought me in, just tell Devon to sign these. Number one, I don't work for you, regardless if it's your show or not. And it's not even your show, it's your father's show. And he tried to pretty much tell me that, oh, no, this is my show. I said, okay, without your father, without Bobby, you wouldn't have what you have right now. And he goes, you're not going to sign this? I go, no. When you act like that, no, I'm not going to sign it. He goes, well, get out, pack your stuff, and you guys have to leave. And I told myself, I'm not going anywhere. I was like, if you want me to go somewhere, have your father tell me. Then I'll walk. I was like, but you're dumb ass. I ain't moving. Well, I'll call the police and have you escort out. I think you better do that. By the way, when you do that, you better have an ambulance on the way. Because by the time the cops come here to escort me, I'm going to be in cuffs and your ass going to be wheeled off in an ambulance. That I promise you. And, he started trying to be all tough and that. And I told him, I said, I will knock your head clear off your shoulders. I was like, you better back up. And then his father came over, Bobby, and was like, hey, what's going on? I said, Bobby, your son is being very rude and this and that about signing something that I had no knowledge of signing. And Dillon kept trying to intervene until Bobby told him to shut up and be respectful. And basically at that point, he kept talking to the point where Bobby, his own father, threw him out the building. And apparently he was having problems with other people there as well. Sandman, Francine, Guido, Jimmy Hart, and poor Bill Abner was only doing his job, came in because of his fault, because of Bobby Fulton, and Dillon gets mad at him and tells what's the name, that you're fired, don't come back here.
He fired Bill Apter, the legend Bill Apter?
Legend Bill Abner. He goes, you're fired, get out. Because he wouldn't bow down to Dillon or wouldn't do what Dillon said. So he fired him. And then Bobby found out about it and he's like, don't worry about that. You're not fired. Go ahead and do your thing. So he had to pretty much cover up for his son. But again, these are incidents that I'm hearing that has been happening a lot with him. And, my thing is, when is enough's enough with this guy? And then he had the nerve to tell me, you'll never work for me again. I promise you. And I said, good, because I don't work for you now. I go, what is your problem? I said, what, are you that deranged? I don't even work for you. How the hell you tell me I'm not going to work for you ever again? I don't work for you. I don't even like you. And I told his father, I said, you know what? I will do this for you. I will do this for you. I'll sign it for you. But for Dillon, I have no respect for.
Okay, folks, you heard once again what Devon had to say about Dillon Hines. And here at Duke Loves Rasslin, you know how we do it. Anyone who's ever mentioned on this show has a fair opportunity to come on and provide a rebuttal, give their side of things and what have you. That's the way that we do it. So because of that, we have two special guests here this episode. We have literally one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, Mr. Bobby Fulton, and his son, the subject, the person that Devon was speaking about, Dillon Hines. So without further ado, welcome to Duke Loves Rasslin, fellas. How you doing?
Doing good. How you doing?
Not bad.
We're doing very fantastic today.
Yes, sir. That's Bobby there. Now, listen, Dillon, I know that we have a lot to touch upon, and I know Bobby has a lot to say, but you have a prepared statement, and I think it's important for folks to hear that right from the beginning there. So I'm gonna turn my mic off. Dillon, why don't you go over your statement for us, please, and then we'll jump right into it.
So first off, I listened to this clip of the podcast you did with Devon multiple times, and a couple things I gathered before I go into my rebuttal is this. He said I said things that were not too nice to Devon, which is false. I was nice and professional until being threatened. And then I never threw the photos on the table. I handed them to Erica and reminded her of the agreement as I continued walking to get the other photos out to be signed. And of course, at the end of that clip, you could hear Devon's continuous threats that are even continuing today. So my rebuttal, Erica and Jeff of Frizzle Promotions were very unprofessional and showed up to the event late. The signing started at 11 for premium ticket holders and 12 for general admission. Vendors were to be set up by 11 a.m. Erica approached me at 12:30 while I was bringing Kurt Angle to his table. They had asked me where their table was. I informed them that I was unsure as a couple team members are the ones that handled the table arrangements, and I was handling taking care of our headliner and getting him to his table. I had a deal with High Spots, which Erica and her brother were informed of days prior that their talent would need to sign 20 photos per in exchange for their free table.
Everybody knew that.
And every other vendor knew this as well. Same goes for everyone else. No one else had an issue except one other vendor that paid the table fee. While I'm handling other stuff, as usually at my events, I'm pulled in 20 different directions. I circled back to the table Alberto and Devon were sitting at to see if the photos had been signed yet. Erica informs me that Devon refuses as I didn't greet him when he walked in. My apologies for that, but unfortunately I don't get to hang out and see everyone at the Fan Fest as I'm dealing with lots of stuff at one time. Very different than when I'm a vendor at another person's event. During this situation, I informed the vendor that if they couldn't get the photos signed, they'd owe a fee of $400 for the table, which they refused. I approached Tom Hill, a team member for the events and one of our security personnel, and he witnessed Erica's brother, Jeff, threatening me, informing me that if I were to not step away from his table, he was going to put blood on my shoes.
Your blood.
Yep, he was going to have my blood on my shoes. When this takes place, I informed them that they could leave peacefully or I'd have to get law enforcement involved as I'd been threatened. My father walks up to the scene and attempts to resolve the situation. While he's talking to Jeff and Erica, Devon is telling me to jump and all sorts of other threats. I left the scene after my father requested me to as the situation was getting out of hand. My father hadn't been informed I'd been threatened by the vendor and Devon yet. I attempted to be the better man and apologized through phone calls and texts, as well as approaching Devon on March 23rd at an event we were at. Which was yesterday, Saturday. He told me he'd accept my father's apology, but not mine. Thus, Devon shows how unprofessional he is, and he is not a man of character, as he refused to accept my apology as a man.
That's a lot. Bobby.
Yes.
I want to hear from you, because that's a very full statement there by Dillon, his perspective. I want to hear your perspective there.
Right.
And what you saw, what happened, man?
All right. Well, I'm going to be very clear about this. Years ago in wrestling, if someone had a beef with someone, they surely didn't get on the telegraph and start telling everybody about it. It should be something personal. Between two people. If I have a problem with you, I'm going to come to you personally and say, hey, let's work this out, or let's agree to disagree. A couple of things I heard, and I just talked with Devon yesterday. A couple of things I heard I want to set the record straight on that Devon said. Number one, these shows are my son's shows. I am in the background, and I am running around, and I am trying to advise them. But these are just as much my son's shows as my show, because with my health, I would not be able to pull such these events off. And you can go. We were just with Sabu yesterday, and he said, "These are the best. Your shows are the best shows I've seen in years, if ever." Sonny Ono says, these shows are the best shows that I've ever seen, if ever. Bret Hart, when we had him, met with Marty Wright in Colorado because Bret was flying on the Calvary. He said, that show was the best show I've ever been to, if not ever, especially on the independent thing. Listen, these events that we do twice a year. And believe you me, they're very hard to do. When you have 45 people coming from 45 different directions, and not to mention, we don't only do a fan fest, but we do a super show. And as you know, when you got that many cogs, you understand what I'm saying? By cogs, that many cogs, C-O-G-S, in the wheel. And I want everybody to know I haven't been drinking. I've had throat cancer, and that's why I talk the way I do. So, but I don't have it now, so I want that perfectly clear. So with that being said, when vendors show up late to a show, once it's already started, it's very hard because all hell's breaking loose. We have tons of people at our event. Every vendor makes big money at our shows. So we started saying this: either pay table rent, or we want you to sign 20 pictures per talent that you have at your table, and we supply the pictures. You don't have to give them to us, and that is in lieu of the table fee, because everybody makes real good money at our show, or for the most part, almost everybody. I'm talking about not only the talent, but the vendors there, like Ralph Serrazino and Jeff Zito and Alan Zor. I mean, everybody's able to make big money because we have a tremendous turnout, and our reputation speaks for itself as far as that goes. So, all of a sudden, on this particular issue, I'm walking around, we're putting out little fires, Dylan and I hear what's going on because I see fans starting to gather and listening to this exchange between my son and Devon, and I see the fans because look, professional wrestling, we work for the fans, and without them we have nothing. And when I seen them standing around listening to this stuff going on, I just jumped into the fray without hearing both sides of the story. But Devon said he disrespected me, and I just wanted to put the fire out as quick as possible because I didn't know the whole story. And Dillon left, and it was fine. So I went up yesterday and talked to Devon again. I didn't realize that this really. I mean, I know he's traveled all over the world, and I like him personally, but I didn't realize that because his vendors had grown, that he took it so personal, as if we were disrespecting him, and that was not the case. Dillon mentioned that he had said, "Well, you didn't come up and say hello to me, did he, Dillon?" And we had one other named person tell me, "You didn't come up and say hello to him." I can't. We got so many things going on. Not only we have the fan fest, we have everything, but I'll get to the story. So when I told Dillon to back up, he did. I didn't know that the vendor told my son, "If you don't leave my table, your blood's will be on your feet." Brother, that is communicating a threat. And that, I don't care how tough you are, when you communicate a threat like that, that's serious business. That's a lawful issue. And Devon must not have been informed of what his vendor that brought him in, Dillon arrangement had made prior to the fact. Do you get me? Is there anything you don't understand what I'm saying?
No, I hear you loud and clear.
How much you tell me what I said about either you pay the rent or you sign the 20 pictures we supply in lieu of the rent. Do you understand that, what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And it's very clear. That's it. You can come to our event, make lots of money. You're welcome. Like I said, we have probably 55 different vendors. So I didn't know he said, your own blood will be on your shoes. And this is, and I'm not joking. You can tell by the way I talk. I'm not in the best of health. I mean, I've recovered, but I'm a shell of the man I once was. Without my son, these events would not be going on, and he's not telling me to say this. This is something I want people to know. Yes, I've been a name in professional wrestling, been around for years, so a lot of people just say Bobby Fulton show. But this is as much as my son's show of mine, if not more. Now, I'm going to get to this. So, Devon apparently didn't understand the situation, or was not explained to, and I don't believe in my mind for 1 second that he should have asked his vendor, which is his boss for the day. We all have a boss. My boss that day is the fans and everybody that comes to the event and the vendors and everybody. He should have asked them, "What's going on here?" Instead of that guy threatening my son. Then after we talked to Devon yesterday, and like Dillon said, he said, if you ask for my forgiveness, and I'm doing that out of being a gentleman. That's why I said that. And then I hear him threaten my son about the ambulance and stuff on your show. That's not very professional. Listen, I've been in this business since 1977. 1977. We're in the business of tough guys, of mean guys and nasty guys, and you get downright dirty guys if you have to. But I would never, ever publicly threaten someone like Devon did. Because, number one, that's a lawful issue to communicate a threat, is it not?
It could be. Absolutely, it could be.
That's what I'm getting ready to say. But needless to say, I came on here to say that really deep down is, and I told Dillon this, from now on, if a vendor's not set up by 11, when the, what do you call them people come in, Dillon? No, I know they're fans, but I'm talking about the premium people come in. I'm not going to allow no vendors set up no more. If they're, we have you can set up the day before, up until 4, or from 8 to 11. And if they can't do that, then when they come in, they're not going to be able to set up, because I can understand if somebody's car breaks down or whatever, or late, but just to have people when all hell is breaking loose, and what I mean is when you got thousands of people in a building, it's hard to say, hey, where's my table? Because I'm the one that set the tables up. Dillon did not do that. I'm the one that placed the names and stuff like that, and everything. So really, Dillon on this, and I'm not just saying it because it's my son, but it's getting the wrong accusation. And I still don't think Devon understands what really happened. And I'm just putting this out here because I don't like to do podcasts, number one, because of the way I talk now. But I just want people to know that Dillon's not the bad guy that Devon says. And I'm not saying Devon's jealous or nothing like that, but I can't tell you, if when you have Bret Hart say, this is one of the best events I've ever been to, organized everything, when you have him say that, when you have other talent that's been in the business for years talk about your events, and Sabu, who doesn't do a lot of talking, said, man, you guys' event in Ohio, and Sonny Ono, Ultimo Dragon, all these other people say this is unreal because it's wrestling as it's supposed to be. I put a lot of my time from the 70s and on up from the wrestling, and Dillon puts his stuff in from nowadays on. But because of the internet, I know nothing of it. I wouldn't be doing these events. As a matter of fact, I'd ran shows for years, but I never did Fan Fest and things, and that was all Dillon's idea. So a lot of people say a lot of things about Dillon sometimes, and I don't understand why. But I will say this, and I will say this publicly. I don't want that vendor ever to come back to my show that threatened to leave the blood of my son on his feet. Do you have a son?
No, sir.
Do you have children at all?
No, sir. I've mentored many, but no, none of my own.
I understand. Well, I'm just saying, anybody listening to my voice, if someone was to say your blood will be on your shoes, that's pretty heavy, isn't it?
Yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. I mean, listen, it's
after reneging on the deal. And then Dillon said, well, hell, get the hell out. And then they're saying now, Devon's saying about the ambulance taking out. I'm being honest. I don't want no trouble with nobody. I'm on here for the simple fact that here I am, 63 years old, not a healthy man, coming on a podcast, explaining our side of the story. And we shouldn't even be on here because really there's no story. I feel like this is a segment from Jerry Springer's show, Family Feud. Like I said, in my day, we talked things out and didn't air our grievances. But it really broke my heart when Devon came on and said the things he said, because apparently he wasn't in the know. And you know how it is with these talents. Different vendors bring them to different events. And when a vendor, they're boss of the day, and I don't care who you are in wrestling, if you're working for a vendor, you have a boss that day. when he makes the deal and then reneges on it, when he doesn't hold up his end of the bargain, there's a problem there. Capiche?
Capiche, for sure. Listen, Bobby, you know that Devon also expressed a tremendous amount of reverence and respect for you personally.
I have nothing but that for him.
I want to make sure that we're clear on that.
I know.
He's
put
you over.
And I haven't said nothing bad about him on here.
Sure, absolutely. That's
I
fair.
was just explaining that. Devon has children, and he wouldn't want his children threatened like that either.
Sure. Now, and Dillon, feel free to jump in on this. The way that it was framed to me, right, and not just from Devon, but from other folks who were there, was that this was essentially a pissing contest between two guys. And Dillon expressed that he was willing to engage in physical altercation himself. Now, Dillon, I want to ask you directly: did you at any point express to Devon that you want to fight?
Well, hey, I'm gonna stop you right here. Have you seen my son?
Yes, sir.
Have you seen Devon Dudley?
Yes, sir.
I think my son is a college graduate. I think my son would be a total idiot to say I'm willing to fight you right now. Now, I will say this. We did have people there for that purpose. If needed be. My son's not going to fight nobody. And I'm going to tell you that right now. But I'm going to ask you this. If I came on your podcast and I agreed to do certain things, and then when I got on here, I agreed not to do them, is that not wrong?
Absolutely.
All right. Wouldn't you be hurt?
Absolutely.
All right, then. The whole thing started because the vendor was in the wrong. And he didn't tell Devon, didn't get the message, apparently. We had a deal with the guy. And if you have a deal with the guy, then you have a deal with the guy. We have a line of vendors wanting to come to our next event, October the 19th. And as a matter of fact, we're having to stop them because there's so many. So here's the problem. In the heat of the moment, when you're trying to get something done, do you think we have all day to sit there to say, could you please sign the picture, sir? Would you please do this for me so I can get this done, so I can go take care of some other thing? He handed it to the vendor, or tried to hand it to the vendor. The vendor says, I'm going to put your blood on your shoes. He went to Devon, and then it escalated. The case is closed. That is it. Is there any other questions you have, sir?
Well, that's an interesting take there, but I still want to know directly from Dillon. Did he at any point?
But you're talking to me now.
Yeah, but you weren't there for this part, Bobby. So listen, I got to be fair.
Listen, I'm going to tell you something right now.
Please.
I didn't come on here to banter back and forth. I'm going to let him talk a minute, then I'm taking him back over.
Yes, sir.
So here's the thing. If I was going to fight somebody, why would I bother going and getting security and doing what I had to do to de-escalate the situation?
I hear that. So yes or no, did you at any point express that you want to be in a physical altercation with Devon?
I think it's pretty obvious that I did not want to be in a physical altercation with Devon, that I had to contacted my security personnel to de-escalate the situation.
Okay, so the answer to that question is no. You at no point did you express that you want to be in a physical altercation with Devon.
Right. Listen, let me ask you this: How big a fellow are you?
I am not a Devon Dudley fellow. I'm a strapping.
Let me ask you this.
Yes, sir.
Are you gonna go up and threaten Devon physically?
Hell no, not me.
Well, then,
I wouldn't threaten you either, Bobby.
You didn't even need to ask the question.
I wouldn't threaten you either, Bobby.
I'm going to tell you something right now.
Yes, sir.
I have a crowd of 30 people watching one incident. And I asked all 30 people something. They're all going to tell you something different. Right?
Yes, sir. Right.
Well, here's what I'm getting ready to say. In the heat of the moment, you remember certain things. And I'm going to ask you something right now. If I was to come on your podcast and I was either to sign pictures or pay to be on there, and all of a sudden I get on your podcast, you said, all right, I'm giving you this time, either you're to pay or you're to give me the pictures, which would it be? Let me tell you something, buddy. If you don't back up away from this microphone, your blood is going to be on your feet. How would that make you feel?
I would be terrified, Bobby. You're a shooter, so I wouldn't want those problems.
Well, I'm talking about anybody says that. From Mighty Mouse to Superman. Your blood, I've never heard that in my life. And I've been around some of the toughest guys in this business, some of the meanest. But some vendor says to my son, which I didn't know at the time, if you don't leave my area, which is our area because we really rent the building. And our event, and Dillon's event, I'm gonna say this, it's Dillon's event more than it is mine. I'm not able or capable to do this. And as far as talking, I've only got a couple more minutes that we're going to do this, but I'm going to express it. If you come to our event and we make an arrangement and you don't hold up to that, then you're in the wrong. Case closed. And if your vendor has failed to explain that to you, then that's the problem with your vendor boss. And the other person that refused to do that, paid rent, that's fine, because their talent refused it too. And they paid the rent. They said, well, we'll just pay the rent. So he should have paid the rent, but he didn't want to pay the rent. He didn't want to sign the pictures. The pictures never got signed, did they?
I believe they were signed eventually.
Oh, yeah, Devon did because I asked him. And Devon was a professional. Listen, this is no attack on Devon. Not at all. That I'm saying today. I just want to clear the air and say this. When you come to our event, we want you to have the time of our life. Saturday, October the 19th, in Chillicothe, Ohio, is the next event we're having of that magnitude. It's a Fan Fest and Super Show. We already have some of the world's top professional wrestlers signed to appear. More vendors are coming and knocking at the door. Anybody's welcome. But I want the vendors to know, when we make a deal's a deal. Is that not right, sir?
It's absolutely right.
So there you go. And that's what I wanted to say. So I hope that this airs, that clears the air on this. We talked to Devon yesterday. He was fine with everything. And
well, Bobby, he accepted. He was fine with you, but he said that he wouldn't accept Dillon's apology.
I know, but here's the problem. That's on him.
Okay.
That's on Devon. And the reason why it's on Devon is because if I ask somebody, and here's the problem, Dillon really didn't do nothing wrong. And here's Dillon asking for apology. Listen, what don't you understand about when you come to our event and you bring talent, either you pay the fee or you sign the pictures, what part of that don't you understand?
If that is what the agreement is, then I understand what you're saying.
All right, well then,
what did Devon say, though, Bobby? Devon said that this was outside of the agreement.
No, it was not.
Okay, so there's some confusion there.
We run the show. We're the decision makers of that event. That was not outside the agreement.
So those weren't extra pictures, because if you remember, Devon explicitly said, if Bobby came to me and said, sign these extras, I always sign extras, I would do it for Bobby.
No, it was not. It was no extra.
Okay.
It was part of the agreement with the vendor. Hold on.
Yes, sir.
It was part of the agreement with the vendor, and apparently, here's where the trouble starts. The guy didn't tell Devon. And Devon thought they were extra pictures. See, what we tell him is, we're going to supply the pictures. It's in lieu of the rent. You see what I'm saying?
I hear exactly what you're saying, Bobby. It's interesting. So this seems to be a lot of misunderstanding amongst everybody here.
Well, no, I understand totally.
Well, and you said that. You acknowledged that there are things that Devon, you feel Devon just didn't know, and that might have contributed to this issue. So here's what I'll say to this, because again, Bobby, everybody respects you through the moon. You're legitimately one of the legends, man. You've done good business with a lot of wrestlers through the years, helped them put food on the table, and that's why you get the utmost reverence. But I'm going to be honest here, Bobby. And I'm a neutral party here. Literally, I just cover the news. I have gotten so many messages from wrestlers and people in the business who all say the same thing. Dillon has been very disrespectful to an abundance of people, and it's completely counter to the way that you've done business through the years, and that's a problem. So I want you guys to speak to that, because whether or not this incident with Devon is a misunderstanding that went too far, we can't deny the fact that there's a lot of bad taste in people's mouths about the way that Dillon has interacted with folks through the years.
Well, here's what I'm getting ready to say to you. Because and I mean this, because of my voice, the way it is, people, hey, people have disagreements with people. I'm going to let my son go with that, and then I'm going to come back on.
Yes, sir. So again, folks, this is hold on a second, Dillon. This is an interesting conversation here. We have Dillon Hines and Bobby Fulton responding to what Devon Dudley had said on this show about an interaction he had with Dillon. And, it's opening up a can of worms here, so to speak, because there are it sounds like that whole situation was a misunderstanding, but there's a deeper issue here. So Dillon, now that you're back here, you got a lot of people, man, even right now, even as we're recording, people are posting messages publicly saying that you're not good business, not like your father is. I mean, how do you respond to that?
First off, give me some examples, and I'd be happy to address each and every one of them.
Yes, sir. So let me pull up one of the latest. And folks, if you go on to Facebook right now on the Duke Loves Rasslin fan page, you can see. I mean, we have a share from David Krieger today, which is Sunday, the 24th of March here. I've met a lot of bad people in my life.
Krieger. I'll go ahead and I'll talk about him, because you don't need to make your statement. David Krieger was given a free ticket to an event, told me I will help you in any way possible you need. My adopted grandfather had a stroke. I asked David Krieger to use my vehicle and my fuel to go pick up the Nasty Boys, right?
Okay.
Case closed. He threw a fit the moment I wasn't going to allow him to have free autographs after I'd already given him a free ticket to the event that was over $300.
And not only that, David Krieger came up to me, and I didn't know the arrangement. Dillon gave him a $400 worth ticket. Free. If he would do this.
Wow.
Right? Right?
That's a big deal.
Yeah. Dillon gave him a $400 value ticket. And what happened was, and I didn't know this at the fact, and I'm glad you brought this up, because maybe we can shed some light on some of this stuff. So David Krieger, Dillon gave him a $400 value ticket, right? Gave it to him. And said, the only thing I ask you is, was it his vehicle, Dillon? Dillon's vehicle, and drive to pick up the Nasty Boys, and that's all. David drove up there, and the Nasty Boys got off the plane, told them they were hungry. This is secondhand news, because this is what David Krieger said. Said, so I had to buy them food, because he said they didn't have no money. So I had to buy them food, Bobby, and I drove back to the place. So and now not only does he want the $400 free ticket, he wants Dillon to get him pictures signed by everybody. Well, you can't do that. So David, I didn't know this at the time. David gets mad. So David's outside smoking dope and going nuts about Dillon. And I hear him. I'm out there smoking a cigar, right? And I said, what's going on? Ah, man, this and that, screaming, yelling, running his mouth. I said, hey, man, I don't understand what you're talking about. And I said, here's $100 or $50, I can't remember. Shut up, man. I don't want to hear no more. And he went on about his business. But what happened, David got a $400 free ticket. And Dillon has this shot of the exchange about everything going on. And I'll tell you what's going on. I'll tell you what's going on. There's a pound on my son. And it's fine. Internet warriors mean nothing to me. So I'm just saying this. If you have a problem, come up and talk to us about it. Be a man about it. But David Krieger's wrong. He's a guy that comes to events, wants everything for free, wants a $400 free ticket. He can say whatever he wants to say. But I know the story on David Krieger.
All right, so Bobby, there's another one here, and literally this just got posted. A guy by the name of Travis H. Aldis. He says, Dillon is a piece of shit. I was friends with him on here before I knew him. I always gave him advice and was polite and nice to him. I get down to the Gathering show last year and introduce myself, and he looks at me like I have some disease or something. He tries to act like a big league, or all the time he fancies himself a wrestler, which is an absolute joke.
Listen, he's best friends with David Krieger.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
So here's what I'm getting ready to tell you. And what you're stating is people's opinion. Hey, listen, how many 24-year-old guys, how many 24-year-old people in this business do you know that have an event that has 7,000 people at it?
That's very impressive. I only know of one other, Nick Batey over at the River City Wrestling Cons, the only other person I know who can draw that.
Wonderful. And I'm just saying, and 24 years old. How old's Nick?
I think Nick is either 22 or he just turned 23, so he's right around the same age there.
Can I tell you what? I'm proud of guys that are successful. But also I told Dillon, you have a lot of people nipping at your heels for whatever reason. And hey, I will admit, sometimes at these events, if anybody's ever been a promoter, it's a pressure cooker. As I said, not only do you have to answer to the fans, but the wrestlers, the people that rent the building from, the people fixing the food, the people picking up the talent, the people taking the tickets, the people setting up the chairs, setting up the things. I tell everybody right now, anybody has a problem with the promoter, be one time and find out what it's really like.
Well, Bobby, what about this whole thing about Dillon forging Lex Luger's signature?
That's
come
bullshit.
on now. We got to be honest about this now.
Listen. I'm getting ready to say this right now. That was bullshit. He signed it with Lex Luger signed it with another pen. Dillon shouldn't have been involved in that fucking thing. And I'm trusting because now you hit a nerve. That's a damn right lie. And
okay, so that never happened then, right?
Stop. He was accused of it. And then Dillon came out like a dumb idiot and said, well, it might have happened. It did not happen. He never forged one person's autograph. He doesn't have to. He had Lex Luger signing. And what happened was he had a couple pieces or whatever. It was a different marker. Tony Hunter knows the truth. It was Lex Luger's signature.
Okay, I mean there was a lot of confusion related to that we saw online.
I know, and listen to me. Dillon's going to talk to you a second, but I'm just going to say this. We came on here to talk about the Devon Dudley matter, and now we're moving on to stuff that supposedly happened years ago. And let me ask you this.
Yes, sir.
Have you ever had any controversy in your life?
Oh, every single day I got controversy, for sure.
Well, share some with me while we're on here, would you?
Absolutely. I mean, I can tell you one of the most controversial things that ever happened on this show.
I want you to tell me something personally. I want to know your personal life.
Well, it is personal since
I
this
know.
is
Well,
this is
go
my
ahead.
show.
Go ahead. Give it to me. Give it to me.
I did an interview with Brian Kendrick where he apologized for some disparaging things he had said about the Holocaust, and that trended around the world. It was on TMZ and everything. And I still catch hell for airing that episode because there are a lot of people who felt that I shouldn't have even done that interview. So controversy is something that happens.
That's something that you like then, because then you get notoriety and you're on TMZ. So I don't think what you just said was something to do with you personally.
Okay.
So you're talking about it makes you famous, and that's why you told us today, or reached out, or Dillon reached out to you, it shows you want to be on TMZ again, right?
Well, it doesn't make me famous at all. In fact, it went the other way. I just told you I caught a lot of hell for doing it. So that,
well, I know that, but
you're famed for catching hell. I don't know about that, Bobby.
Well, you know why? Because everybody hates you. So you're
that's
famous.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's okay.
You're a hill. So here's what I'm getting ready to say is, my voice is wearing out. We've enjoyed the conversation, and we hope that you have a great day. I'm
going to talk the rest of this.
Well, thank you, Bobby, and it's always great to talk to you, and we wish you the best, man. You know people love you, Bobby.
Yeah, and we love you, and listen, Saturday, October the 19th, Chillicothe, Ohio, we're going to have a great event. We already got some Major League headliners coming, and when will this air?
This is actually, I'm going to try to get this out Monday the 25th. So this is going to be a quick turnaround here. We're going to get this out right away.
And hey, come see us in Indiana on March the 29th and 30th. We're part of Spurs Super Expo. And then we've got other kinds of other events going on. Thanks for your time and consideration. And I hope you have a nice day.
Thank you, Bobby. It was great talking to you. Dillon, you're sticking around?
Yes, I'm going to stick around for a minute.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm going to say this. Since you're burying me with all these other disparaging remarks from fools who were well taken care of, like David Krieger, you know, I'll say this. If I was the piece of shit people say I am, why on earth would all these talents be working with me? Why would guys like Eric Bischoff be like, Dillon, I've been wanting to come to your event. I'm excited to come to your event. Sting.
Well, Dillon, the answer to that question is folks say that they love working with your dad, man. That's what they say. I'm not out here. I don't have an opinion one way or another. I'm just relaying what's been stated publicly and what's been stated privately about that whole arrangement. People love your dad. They revere your dad. They respect your dad. And they have a tough time with you in the way that you have treated people, Dillon. I don't think we can deny that's the story out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So your dad is saying that some people are jealous because you're a young man who is putting on successful events. And I think that there may be something to that. Do you want to lean into that a little bit more? Do you feel that because you're a young man who's figured out how to put on these mega events with these big stars that maybe some of the heat is unwarranted?
I'll say this. For years, when I started doing this wrestling stuff, these people decided to go and do whatever they could to get me out of it. Because, as you know, I'm 24 years old. When I started doing this wrestling business, I was 16 years old. When you're working with some of the top guys in the world and you're half or a third of the age of the people that are doing it also, and they've never got to work with these people, would you not be jealous? Would you not be, well, it's not even jealousy. I like to quote the great Jackie Gleason on this. It's not jealousy, it's envious. They can't do what I do. They can't work with these guys, because if they could, why aren't they working with them? I got Rob Van Dam booked I've had him over the last year probably 25 times, if not more, around that, you know. If I was a piece of shit, would Rob Van Dam be working with me?
I would hope not, because Rob Van Dam is definitely a stand-up guy.
He knows damn well he's working with me because I'm the guy who contacts him. Eric Bischoff knows damn well he's working for me because I'm the guy who contacts him. Just this past event, Jacques Rougeau was in shock that my father was involved with the event because he didn't know that my father was my father. I don't use my father's name for anything. Now, will Dad get credit for these events and stuff? Yes, rightfully so. But when I book a talent, I don't say, hey, I'm Bobby Fulton's son. Can you come work for me here? Or can you come work for me there? So give me a remark from a talent, not these fools like fanboys like David Krieger that are internet warrior freaks who has issues with everybody. I know of a situation where he was at the baseball museum. I don't know where it is because I don't follow baseball. But hell, he couldn't even get a ride back home from a friend of his because he had gotten into a dispute with that guy back in, I think it was July or June or whatever. So, name somebody that actually has value.
Well, who's Ken M. Jugan? Because he has a very big post about.
Look. I'll tell you about Ken Jugan.
Okay.
Now, what you're doing is bottom feeding. And we're going to end this now because you're not bringing up no credible people.
Yeah, that's not a credible person.
None of these people. This is like walking on the trashy side of town. And I'm going to tell you something.
Bring up a credible person.
Bring up a credible person. Ken Jugan has begged to be on our events, has tried to be on our. What you're doing is you're letting crybabies dictate internet trolls, dictate the questions you're asking. This is not even worth it. That guy begged and begged and begged to be on those shows. Begged. So he's going to be pissed off because he's not welcome. He's been in the business and never really done nothing as far as I'm concerned. And name something. And you know what, Dillon? We're going to stop this interview right now because you're bringing up guys and people that saying lies. Okay, Ken Jugan, I can post any post about you, but Ken Jugan wanted to come to our event and want to do all this stuff.
He stole money from Virgil for years.
And plus, Ken Jugan stole money from Virgil. He was going to bring Virgil to our event, but I know for a fact that he stole money from Virgil, which is bad because Virgil was in bad shape on bookings and stuff like that. And we wouldn't have no part of that. So next, name another one.
Okay, but I mean, listen, Bobby, you're talking about people that you know personally. I'm just telling you about posts that have.
I'm just telling you, disregard it because it's nothing but bullshit.
Okay, so it's BS what they're saying about your son.
It's bullshit.
Okay,
it's guys that want to be there that's not, and it's 12 noon, and I've got to check out of this hotel. We're going to end this interview now. Thanks for your time and your consideration. And like I said,
I'll be happy to do another.
Yeah, no.
My father not involved.
No. I don't think there's no need to address this anymore. And the reason being is, and I don't want you to contact Dillon anymore about this particular stuff because what you're doing is very Jerry Springerish, and it's all bullshit. It's all bullshit, what you're saying. And what they're saying is bullshit. They're jealous and mad. And because, look, they couldn't get something for free off my son. They go out and write what they want. But guess what? None of them guys that you mentioned matter now. I'm talking about these fanboys that
Does he have anybody that's worthwhile?
But you don't have it, yeah. I'm just talking about them. None of them matter.
That's been featured on television as a wrestler.
None of them matter. You asked Bret Hart about our company. You asked all these other guys.
I certainly will. In fact, the next time I have Bret on the show, I will bring you up specifically so he can speak about you and Dillon.
Ask him about Philadelphia, Ohio. He told Marty Wright. You know who Marty Wright is?
Sure do.
He told Marty Wright they were flying back. Marty was going to Colorado. Marty Wright said Bret Hart said it was one of the best organized events he's ever been to. And he was even there to walk into the ring to welcome the people. I'm just telling you this. I think, and going back to this, circle back to this, Devon didn't know the deal we had with the vendor. And I think that's where the whole problem of this lies. But so I think it's a misunderstanding, and in the heat of the moment, things happen. I don't hold it against Devon that he said, I was going to put his son in the ambulance. That's pretty heavy to me. Because your vendor didn't tell you, hey, I didn't want to pay the rent. So and he asked me to sign these pictures that he supplied. And you're not going to sign them either. We're just going to be like a spotter here and come to this event free, which before I've had a few people. What's that guy's name, Joe? What? That announcer?
That's what you're talking about.
I'm going to say it. Joe, the announcer that said, Joe Dombrowski came to our event, and we were busy running around. Do you know Joe Dombrowski? Do you know that name?
No, I'm not familiar with Joe.
He does a lot of announcing on his people's shows and stuff. But what Joe did was, he came to our event, set up a table, 2 tables, and started selling merchandise. Well, I walked by because I knew where the tables were, and I didn't know how they got there. But he came in the middle of it, set up. I said, Joe, you owe me rent? He said, I'm not paying you. I said, Joe, hit the damn door. And I kicked him out. So we have that to deal with, things like that. And that was not this show. This was the show before, where vendors just come in and squat and set a table up and don't want to pay. And that's not right. You wouldn't allow that either, would you?
No, that's not right at all. And again,
Yeah,
Bobby,
and
you know that everybody respects you, man.
Especially, yeah, but I'm not talking about this. This has got to do with Dillon too, because not only are they messing on me, they're messing on Dillon, and people want to trash Dillon all the time. They like I said, the examples you gave me are not trustworthy, and everything.
Let me talk. I'm 24 years old. Let me talk. Do you have anybody worthwhile, before we end this, do you have anybody worthwhile that said anything? I'd be happy to address them.
Well,
An actual talent. Not a fan, not a mark, not a wannabe, an actual talent. We already talked about Devon. The Devon conversation's through.
Okay, so I just want to make sure I'm clear before I quote anybody else, because it doesn't sound like anyone who I've mentioned who has had anything to say about you, Dillon, that you particularly like them either. So you're saying that talents don't have a problem with you, it's everybody else. I just want to make sure I'm clear on what you're saying here.
I'm asking you, do you have any statement from a talent outside of Devon Dudley about me?
What about the guy Danny Mario? He says,
he's
well,
not
he's
a talent,
the one.
is he?
He's a wrestler, isn't he?
I said a talent. Are you stupid? I said a talent.
Now, wait a second. Now, Dillon, now here you are being disrespectful to me now when I'm asking you questions.
When I told you a talent. Not a mark. Not an internet mark.
So is that guy not a wrestler?
Lex Luger. I saw his comment earlier. We already talked about Lex Luger.
Okay.
Lex Luger stuff was signed on a Facebook Live. Thank you very much. Signed by Lex Luger himself. That's enough said about that issue.
So you don't want me to mention anything more that Danny Mario said?
No, because I saw what he had to say.
Okay. All right. So you saw what he had to say. So you don't have any issues with any talents other than Devon. That was the only talent that had an issue with you. That's what you're saying.
I'm asking you, have you heard from any other talent?
I literally just mentioned a talent to you, Dillon, and you
Danny
took issue
Marino
with
is not a talent. Where did he wrestle at? Did he wrestle in WWF, WCW, NWA?
Right. So you're saying you want bigger name wrestlers. So even though any wrestler who says anything,
you're not an idiot.
Right,
hey, listen. What you're doing is trying to get another moment of fame, and you're bottom feeding. So I'm stopping this right now. Dillon wants to talk, but I can see it. Here's what happens. These guys befriend Dillon, and the minute he don't give them exactly what they want, just like that guy we talked about earlier, that got the David Krieger, and we're making them famous, brothers. Hey, let's stop this right now. On my authority, I'm going to stop.
Yes, sir.
I'll stop it now. So
yes, sir.
I respect you and you respect me. Stop it, hang up, or whatever. I'm going to just stop.
Okay, well, Bobby, you're welcome to walk away, but if Dillon wants to keep talking, I got to give him the opportunity. Folks, during this time of the interview, there was a family moment between Dillon and Bobby. And although it, was caught on the recording, I decided to remove that from this conversation because it really doesn't add anything to what we're discussing overall. And I gave Bobby and Dillon my word that I would take that portion out. So I did do that. Clearly, this is a very emotional conversation. Clearly, Bobby would like to walk away from it. I think he said all that he needs to say, but Dillon is not done defending himself. So I'm going to continue with it going forward now, and you'll hear the rest. But there is about a 6 or 7 minute chunk that was removed out of respect for both of those guys and their family moment. So without further ado, now we'll pick back up from there.
Before we end this, I'm going to ask this. Do you have anything from any notable talent that has any clout in this wrestling world other than Sting? Someone that has been in a WWE encyclopedia, somebody that other than Devon or anybody else?
Well, what is the issue with Sting? Because I had heard about that from others before. I haven't heard directly from Sting. But what's going on with Sting?
The only issue was this. There was a person that came with him to the event.
No, what happened was Mike Thompson was supposed to get.
That's not the issue.
Right, we'll tell him about the pre-sign.
There was a person that came to the event with Sting that was very unprofessional. It looked at our fans like they'd smelled a bag of crap or whatever you want to say, trash or whatever. Had that expression on their face the entire time while dealing with our fans. I had a couple people that were still in line for Sting. The signing was to end at, I think it was, the signing was from 1 to 4. It was 4:15. I felt that the only person that made that signing end, because Sting was going to take care of the rest of it, to my knowledge, was the person that came with him. I had an issue with that. When you pay a talent the amount of money that Sting gets, if you're a vendor, you know how much money Sting gets, right? I felt that those 4 or 5 people should have had their product taken care of.
That was the issue.
Yeah, that was the only issue.
And she shut it off.
And the woman that was with him cut it off, who worked for, I don't even know if she still works for them because I haven't seen them.
And we explained the
see, the other issue I have with these things is I have a person that continuously interrupts, and that's why there's always issues with these people. I'll go with it now. The interview was between me and this man, and my father continues to interrupt. He don't let me talk.
I'm dad.
Okay. I mean, listen, I respect the family dynamic that you fellas have. At the end of the day, Dillon, I think that just me taking a look at everything here, I think that there is something to misunderstandings that can escalate. So all I'll say is when you and a talent find yourselves at odds, maybe it does make sense to take a step back or have a third party help you folks take a step back and understand what's really going on so we don't get
I agree with that. I agree with that, and that was what was done.
I agree with that.
That's why Tom Hill, that I mentioned earlier, was brought to the scene of the event. I agree
with that, but it's hard in the heat of the moment.
See, I have a father. I'm going to say this. I have a father who every time I've had an issue with something, he continuously takes the other people's sides. And that happens every single time. And I want this to air because I want him to know. As of today, 2024 is going to be my final year. I'm going to continue out 2024. But I'm done after this year. I'm going to ride out of it into the sunset with the biggest names in the wrestling business. That's why next week in Indiana, or this coming week, whatever you want to say, because it's Sunday now, I'll be working with Jushin Thunder Liger, Ultimo Dragon, and Tajiri, bringing 3 of the biggest Japanese icons ever in the professional wrestling world to an event.
And
that is me.
That
is me. I contacted Sonny Ono. My father had nothing to do with that.
Dillon did that.
Well, I'll just say this, Dillon. It sounds like you're going to be moving on to other endeavors outside of pro wrestling in 2025, and definitely wish you well in that regard. But as always, man, we gave you open forum here with open mic, you and your dad, to express yourselves, and there was a lot that was said here. So anyone who was mentioned, just like you folks, they're going to have an opportunity to come on the show and express themselves as well. But I just hope everybody can come to an understanding in a positive manner, because again, your dad is a legend. People love him and what he's contributed to the business. Dillon, you've done a lot of successful things, and I think you should get credit and acknowledgement for that. Like you said, you're a young man, and yet you're able to do these things. It's something to be proud of. So again, I just hope that everybody finds some kind of common ground without it turning into physical altercations or further verbal disagreements and what have you. Okay. Is there anything else you guys want to plug?
I want to ask this.
Yes, sir.
So, without the internet wrestling community, which is the people you gather from the Peanut Gallery, the people who have no notoriety other than them using my name for some fame because they wanted to talk about me and get their name mentioned on your podcast, do you have anyone that has had a 30, 25, 40-year career inside of professional wrestling that was featured on WWE, WCW, Impact, AEW, whatever it may be, that has a remark that they have said about me?
Other than Devon Dudley?
Other than Devon Dudley.
And other than whatever that was with Sting?
Yeah.
No. I will say flat out.
Hold on, I get to talk. You don't have that. You want to know why? Because you sat here and lied to us when you said, and you addressed me and trashed me and everything, and you lied today, sir. You lied today, and I want this to be on your podcast because I'm going to put it out on Facebook. You lied by saying that people only work with me because of my father and all this bullshit. Nah. My father may have helped me open a couple of doors. Yeah, but he did that with Sting. He helped me open a door with Sting and several other people, right?
You're telling the story. I can't say right today.
For the last couple of years, I'm going to talk now. For the last couple of years, I became my own man. I do my own thing. Dad opened the door with RVD, right? Guess what it was my thing to do, though? Whether I was going to keep the door open or whether I was going to let the door slam shut, right? I do good business. Every time I bring Rob Van Dam out, it's good business. Every time I bring out, when I've worked with Bret Hart, it was good business. When I worked with all these other talent, good business. Success speaks for itself when there's people continuously working with us, right?
Absolutely.
And they're not guys looking for money. Rob Van Dam does not need the money. I've been told that before. Oh, they only work for you because they need a couple dollars. That's not true. These people don't need the money. Rob Van Dam's still featured on All Elite Wrestling. Still featured all throughout the world and stuff. So for you to have said what you said, and go and say, well, these talents say this talent does this. Other than Devon Dudley, really, guess what? He wasn't private in the situation himself. He had no knowledge of what he was talking about, really. Other than the moments where he and I talked, he wasn't private to the deal. He had no knowledge of the deal. Did he? Correct me if I'm wrong.
You tell me. I mean, Devon expressed himself and said what he knew. According to you folks, apparently he didn't know about the extra stuff.
Yeah. And it wasn't extra stuff. I'm going to tell you this. When people are at a big event, right? Tom Unger walks up to the table, or one of his employees walks up to a table, right? And they get 20 to 30 pieces signed per talent. Correct? Correct?
I can't say correct because I don't know.
All right. Well, you don't know. Seems like that's how a lot of this interview was today. You didn't know anything. You're
absolutely right, which is why I asked you the question, Dillon. I got to know by asking questions, right?
Yeah. So, I'll continue on with this. Situations are this. Devon didn't know what was going on. The vendors knew what was going on. That's why people like Anthony Delfonso, who's more than welcome to come to any event we have, will continue to be a vendor at our events. He had all his talent sign the stuff. Everybody else had their talent sign the stuff. Gimmick Promotions had their talent signed. Who else was vendors at this event? There was a bunch of vendors. All of them had them signed except for two people, right? If they thought we were getting over on them, why would they have their talent signed? Answer that.
You know, I think you bring up some valid points, Dillon. And look, we've covered a lot here, so I'm just going to say this again. I hope that folks find a positive way to continue to move forward. If you are indeed in your last year of working in the wrestling industry, that's too bad because it sounds like there's a lot of money to be made and a lot of opportunities for fans to get some entertainment that you play a role in. So that's too bad. And to Bobby, you know, we always wish you the best of health and what have you here. So,
Thank you.
You know, you fellas are always welcome back on the show, but I just want to say this, Dillon. This was an opportunity for you to express yourself. No one was trying to bury you or put you in a bad spot. So whatever was said is whatever was said.
That is a lie.
No, he asked you about it.
You brought David Krieger in, who, hell, I posted about David Krieger back in August. His shadiness.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you did ask me to provide some examples, and I did. You just didn't like the examples.
I asked you for noteworthy examples. You had no noteworthy.
Okay. So these are everyone who criticizes you is not noteworthy, and that's fine. That's your position.
Can I ask you a question? Other than today, have you ever heard their names before?
Absolutely.
But
You heard of David Krieger, but you're
here's what I'm getting ready to say. Hold that door, Dillon. I'm trying to take it out. And that's part of the reason why I'm under a lot of pressure to check it out. But listen, you asked about people that want to step for free. They got pissed off because they didn't get what they wanted.
Got it.
So I can do the same. It's like me a while ago when I was losing my cool totally. And I said that about you. Here's my problem is, I am just upset over all this. I've been in this business since 77. I don't need this little stuff right here.
Yes, sir.
This is something that should have been addressed between professionals, and that would have been Devon and me, which it was, and Dillon, and Devon's vendor, whoever he had, should explain to Devon. Devon, I went back on my deal. And listen, sir, I mean this with all my heart. I was in the heat of the throes of the moment while ago. I'm going to stop this interview because I knew I had to check it out a long time ago. But Dillon wants to continue to talk to address this thing, which I think is pretty well taken care of. Do you?
I sure do. I think that you both have said what needed to be said up to this point.
All right. I appreciate you, and thank you so much. I'm going to give it back to Dillon.
Yes, sir. Good talking to you, Bobby. Dillon, unless you have anything else, man, I think we're pretty good on this.
Mm-hmm.
This is Tony Schiavone, and we're desperately out of time on Duke Loves Wrestling.